Something inside you hesitated before you scrolled. You felt it. That quiet tug. That slight pause your thumb made over the screen. That isn't random. It's not just an algorithm or a coincidence. It's an interruption. A crack in the loop you've been running. A divine moment pressing itself into your timeline. You didn't land here by chance. You were guided here at the precise second your field was ready for this message. Most people miss these moments. They scroll past, eyes glazed, hearts dulled, locked in the hypnotic rhythm of endless digital noise. But something in you, something awake, sensed there was more in these words than pixels and sound. You stopped. You're here, and that single act of not skipping has already shifted your trajectory. Right now, without you even realizing it, you passed a silent test inside your body. Subtle changes are happening. Your breath slows. Your focus sharpens. Neural pathways long dormant are flickering back to life. This isn't just content you're about to consume. This is activation. This is a moment of divine interruption. The kind of moment your future self will look back on and say, "That's when everything started to change." Understand this. The universe rarely shouts. It whispers. It plants tiny cracks in your routine and waits to see if you'll notice. If you're reading this, it means you noticed. You've stepped out of autopilot long enough for your higher intelligence to slip a message through. That's why this moment feels different, heavier, charged with meaning. The ego hates moments like this. It wants comfort, predictability, loops. It wants you to scroll away and keep living on repeat. But your soul? It craves interruption. It knows you've been asking for a sign, a shift, a new reality. This is it. This is the interruption you asked for. Science backs this up in its own way. Your unconscious mind registers decisions seconds before your conscious mind does. By the time you hesitated, your deeper self had already chosen to stay. This is not just you reading text on a screen. This is you standing at the edge of something massive. And every cell in your body is screaming that nothing will ever be the same again. So, here's my question. What if everything you've been trying to change about yourself has been the wrong approach from the start? What if the real transformation has nothing to do with fixing who you are and everything to do with becoming someone completely different? Stay with me, because what I'm about to share will either make perfect sense or sound absolutely insane. And honestly, both reactions mean you're exactly where you need to be. Let me introduce you to something that's going to shift everything: the quantum field. In quantum physics, there's a principle called observer collapse. Essentially, particles exist in multiple states simultaneously until someone observes them. The moment you look, reality solidifies into one specific outcome. Your consciousness literally collapses possibility into reality. Think about that for a second. Your awareness, your attention, your observation doesn't just witness reality. It creates it. It selects from infinite possibilities and makes one of them real. Now, ancient Tibetan mystics talked about this thousands of years ago. They called it different names, used different languages, wrapped it in different rituals, but the concept was identical. Your awareness shapes your world. The observer and the observed are not separate. They're entangled. They're one. What you focus on, what you believe, what you hold in your consciousness becomes the template for your physical reality. Here's where this gets personal. You've tried affirmations, right? Vision boards, positive thinking. Maybe you've read all the books, listened to all the podcasts, done all the meditations, and you're still here. Still the same person, wrestling with the same patterns, wondering why nothing sticks, wondering why everyone else seems to get results while you're just spinning your wheels in the same mug. I get it. I've been there. staring at myself in the mirror at 3 in the morning, exhausted from trying so hard to be better, to do better, to finally become the person I knew I could be. The frustration is real. The doubt is crushing. The disappointment when you slip back into old patterns after swearing this time would be different. That's soul-destroying. But what if I told you that your struggle isn't because you're not trying hard enough? It's not because you lack discipline, or willpower, or commitment. It's because you're trying to transform something that was never meant to be transformed. You're trying to renovate a house that needs to be demolished. You're trying to upgrade software that needs to be completely reinstalled. You're trying to fix the old self when what you really need is to become the new self. Think of your identity like a radio station. You're currently tuned to 98.5 FM. That's your old self. It has a specific frequency, a specific signal, a complete broadcast system. It plays certain songs, has certain DJs, runs certain programs. That station is fully operational. It works. It's consistent. It's what you know. Now, you're trying to change that station. You're adjusting the volume, switching out the DJ, updating the playlist, remodeling the studio. You're working so hard to make 98.5 better, but you're still on 98.5 FM. You're still broadcasting from the same frequency. The fundamental signal hasn't changed. The core identity is still intact. The new self? That's 107.3 FM. It's not a better version of 98.5. It's not 98.5 with better production value or more popular songs. It's an entirely different station, different frequency, different signal, different programming, different everything. You can't get to 107.3 by improving 98.5. You have to change the dial completely. You have to tune into a different frequency altogether. Dr. Joe Dispenza's research shows that transformation happens at a neurological level. Your brain literally creates new neural pathways, new connections, new circuitry. It's not just a mindset shift. It's a physical, measurable change in the structure of your brain. The HeartMath Institute has documented that your heart's electromagnetic field actually shifts, measurably shifts, when you undergo identity transformation. The coherence patterns change. The frequency changes. The entire energetic signature of who you are becomes different. You can't renovate the old house and expect to live in a new one. You have to move. You have to pack up everything, leave the old address, and relocate to a completely different place. And here's what nobody tells you. The old self knows this. That's why it fights so hard. That's why every time you get close to real change, something pulls you back. It's not weakness. It's not lack of discipline. It's not self-sabotage in the way you think it is. It's your current identity doing exactly what it's designed to do. Survive. Your ego's primary function is self-preservation. And, from its perspective, transformation equals death. So it will use every trick, every distraction, every familiar pattern to keep you locked in the old frequency. It will make you doubt. It will make you tired. It will convince you that change is too hard, too risky, too uncertain. It will remind you of every past failure. It will project catastrophic futures. It will do anything to keep you tuned to 98.5. So how does quantum transformation actually work? It's not willpower. It's not positive thinking. It's not grinding harder or wanting it more. It's not about being more disciplined or more committed or more focused. All of those things keep you in the paradigm of effort. And effort keeps you in the old identity. Because the old identity is built on effort, on pushing, on forcing, on making things happen through sheer determination. Quantum transformation is different. It's surrender. Complete, terrifying, beautiful surrender. Not giving up. That's important to understand. Surrender is not defeat. It's not quitting. It's not weakness. Surrender is the most powerful thing you can do because it requires you to release control. And control is the ego's favorite weapon. Here's what happens in your brain during this process. Neuroplasticity kicks in at a level most people never experience. Your prefrontal cortex, the part that holds on to your identity, the part that maintains the story of who you are, begins to release its grip. Neural pathways that have defined you for years, maybe decades, start to dissolve. Connections that felt permanent begin to loosen. The rigid structure of your self-concept becomes fluid. This isn't metaphorical. This is measurable, observable neuroscience. Brain scans show it. EEG readings confirm it. When you truly let go, when you stop trying to control the transformation and simply allow it, your brain enters a state where it can rewire itself. The default mode network, the network responsible for self-referential thinking, for maintaining your sense of self, it quiets down. Sometimes it goes almost silent. And in that silence, in that space where the old self releases its grip, something new can emerge. The mental fog you've been living in, it clears. The emotional reactivity that's controlled you for so long, it softens. The anxiety about who you should be, the constant comparison, the endless self-improvement treadmill, it evaporates. Not because you conquered it, not because you became strong enough to overcome it, but because you stopped feeding it, you stopped identifying with it. There's a moment, I call it the quantum moment. It's the instant where everything shifts, and it doesn't feel like loss. It feels like liberation, like you've been holding your breath for years and suddenly remembered how to breathe. Like you've been carrying a weight you didn't know was there, and someone just lifted it off your shoulders. Like you've been trying to see through a foggy window, and suddenly the fog clears and you can see forever. But to get there, you have to stop trying to improve yourself. You have to let yourself die. Not physically, not literally, but the you that you think you are, the identity you've been defending and maintaining and trying to perfect, that has to die. It has to dissolve. It has to be released completely. Let's reframe something crucial. What you think of as letting go of yourself is actually letting go of a false self. That identity you're so afraid to release, it's not really you. It's a collection of other people's expectations, your parents' hopes and fears, your teachers' judgments, your peers' standards, your culture's conditioning. It's past traumas and the coping mechanisms you developed to survive them. It's social conditioning, all the unspoken rules about who you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to act and what you're supposed to want. It's fear-based decisions compounded over years. It's survival patterns you developed as a child when you didn't have the consciousness or the tools to choose differently. It's every time you made yourself smaller to fit in, every time you silenced your truth to keep the peace, every time you betrayed yourself to earn love or approval or validation. That's the false self. That's the identity built on external conditioning rather than internal truth. The real you, the one that's been buried under all that programming, is waiting. And it's not waiting patiently. It's pushing against the walls of the false self, creating that divine dissatisfaction, that restlessness, that sense that something is off even when everything looks fine on paper. That's your authentic self trying to break through. That's the 107.3 frequency trying to emerge while you're still broadcasting on 98.5. Ancient Buddhist teachings talk about the concept of no self, anatta. The idea that what we call self is actually empty of inherent existence. It's a construct, a story, a collection of thoughts and memories and patterns that we've woven together and called me. Modern neuroscience confirms this. What we call self is actually a construct, a narrative your brain tells to make sense of continuity. to create the illusion of a consistent, permanent identity. But it's an illusion. A useful one, perhaps, but an illusion nonetheless. There is no fixed, permanent, unchanging self. There's only awareness experiencing different patterns, different frequencies, different expressions. You are not the pattern. You are the awareness experiencing the pattern. And when you realize that, when you truly understand that, the grip of the false identity loosens. Because you realize you can change the pattern without losing yourself. In fact, you can only find yourself by changing the pattern. When you let go of the false identity, you're not losing yourself. You're finally finding yourself. You're removing the layers of conditioning and revealing what was always there underneath. This is why the fear feels so intense. Your ego genuinely believes it's dying. And, in a way, it is. The structure that's been running the show, making the decisions, interpreting reality through its limited filters, that structure is dissolving. But you, the real you, the awareness that's always been there watching the show, observing the patterns, experiencing the life, you're not dying. You're just being born. You're waking up from the dream of separation and limitation and lack. You're remembering who you really are beyond the story, beyond the identity, beyond the conditioning. I need to tell you about my moment. The moment everything changed. I was sitting in my car at 2 in the morning in an empty parking lot. I just walked out of my life. Not literally, but energetically. I couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't pretend. Couldn't perform. Couldn't hold up the version of myself that everyone expected, that I expected, that I'd been maintaining for so long it felt like the only version that existed. I was exhausted, completely depleted. Not just tired, beyond tired. Depleted at a soul level. Every cell in my body was screaming for rest, for release, for relief from the constant pressure of being someone I wasn't. And in that moment of total surrender, not giving up, but giving in, something shifted. I felt it physically, like a pressure releasing from my chest that I didn't even know was there. Like I'd been wearing armor my entire life, and suddenly, all the straps came undone at once. The person I'd been trying so hard to be just dissolved. And I didn't die. I didn't fall apart. I didn't lose my mind. I became more real than I'd ever been. More present, more alive, more me. Before that moment, I was running on achievement, validation, and the desperate need to prove I was enough. My entire existence was organized around earning worth, collecting evidence that I mattered, building a resume of accomplishments that would finally make me acceptable. I was exhausted not from the work itself, but from the constant internal commentary about whether the work was good enough, whether I was good enough, whether anyone would notice, whether it would finally be enough to quiet the voice that kept saying, "You're not there yet." After that moment, I just existed, peacefully, powerfully, without needing to be anything other than what I was. The work still happened. The creativity still flowed. The productivity didn't disappear, but it came from a completely different place. It came from overflow instead of lack, from expression instead of proof, from joy instead of fear. The old me chased success to fill a void. The new me creates from overflow. The old me needed people to understand me, to validate my perspective, to confirm my reality. The new me doesn't need anything from anyone. Not because I'm cold or detached, but because I'm complete. The validation I was seeking externally, I found internally. The old me was terrified of failure, of being exposed, of being seen as not enough. The new me sees failure as data, as feedback, as part of the process rather than evidence of inadequacy. It wasn't a gradual shift. It wasn't a slow transformation over months or years. It was instantaneous. A quantum leap. One moment, I was one person. The next moment, I was someone completely different. Same body, same memories, same history, but different frequency, different perspective, different relationship with reality itself. You want to know if you're in the shift? Here are the signs. Reality glitches. Things feel surreal, dreamlike, as if the fabric of ordinary life has thinned and you're seeing through it to something else. Time moves differently. Hours disappear in what feels like minutes, or minutes stretch into eternities. Linear time starts to feel like a construct rather than an absolute reality. Coincidences stack up in impossible ways. You think of someone and they call. You need information, and it appears. You have a question, and the answer shows up in the next conversation you have, the next article you read, the next video that mysteriously appears in your feed. You run into the right people at the right time, saying the right things. And it's not once or twice. It's constant. It's a flow of synchronicity that defies statistical probability. Synchronicities multiply. Numbers, symbols, messages appearing everywhere. You see the same number sequences repeatedly. You hear the same phrases from different people who don't know each other. You notice patterns in nature, in conversations, in the media you consume. And these aren't random. They feel meaningful, charged with significance, as if reality itself is trying to communicate something important. This isn't because the universe is trying to communicate, though it might feel that way. It's because your awareness is expanding to notice what was always there. Your reticular activating system, the part of your brain that filters information and decides what's important enough to bring to conscious awareness, is recalibrating. It's tuning into a different frequency. And suddenly you're seeing connections and patterns that were invisible before. Divine dissatisfaction sets in. Nothing satisfies you anymore. Not achievements. Not relationships. Not comfort. Not entertainment. Not the things that used to make you happy or distract you or fill the void. There's a restlessness that won't quit. A knowing that there's something more, something deeper, something truer than the life you've been living. And you can't ignore it anymore. You can't numb it or distract yourself from it or rationalize it away. This isn't depression. It's important to understand that. Depression is a flatness, a numbness, a loss of interest in everything. Divine dissatisfaction is the opposite. It's a heightened sensitivity, an acute awareness that you're meant for something more. It's your soul refusing to settle. It's evolution pressing against the boundaries of your current identity. It's the 107.3 frequency trying to break through the static of 98.5. And then comes the hardest part, the dark night of the soul. This is where most people turn back. This is where the journey becomes almost unbearable. It feels like everything is falling apart. Your relationships strain or break. Your career feels meaningless, hollow, like you're going through motions that no longer connect to anything real. Your old passions feel empty. The activities that used to bring joy now feel like distractions. The goals that used to motivate you now feel irrelevant. You might experience physical symptoms, fatigue that doesn't respond to rest, unexplained aches and pains, sleep disturbances, appetite changes. Your body is recalibrating along with your consciousness, and sometimes that process is uncomfortable. You might experience emotional volatility, crying for no apparent reason, waves of grief or anger or fear that seem to come from nowhere. Old wounds resurface. Patterns you thought you'd healed activate again. But this isn't destruction. It's purification. The old frequency is being cleared out to make room for the new one. Everything that's not aligned with your authentic self, everything that belongs to the false identity, has to be released. And release can be painful. It can feel like loss. It can feel like dying. Because in a sense, you are dying. The you that you thought you were is dissolving. The dark night isn't a sign you're doing something wrong. It's confirmation you're doing something right. It's evidence that the transformation is real, that you're not just intellectually understanding these concepts, but actually embodying them. The darkness isn't the problem. The darkness is the crucible. It's the space where the old self is burned away, so the new self can emerge. There's a threshold, a point of no return where the transformation becomes irreversible. It's not a decision you make with your mind. It's not something you can choose through willpower or determination. It's a knowing that settles into your bones, into your cells, into the deepest part of your being. You can't go back, because there's literally nothing to go back to. The old identity isn't waiting for you anymore. It's gone. The bridge is burned. The door is closed, and in that moment, there's both terror and liberation. Terror, because you're in completely new territory with no map, no guide, no guarantee of where you're going or who you'll be when you get there. Liberation, because the weight of maintaining the false self is finally gone. The exhausting performance is over. The constant vigilance, the endless self-monitoring, the perpetual anxiety about whether you're doing it right, all of that dissolves. This is where faith becomes essential. Not religious faith necessarily, though it can be. Quantum faith. Trust in the intelligence of the process. Trust that what's dissolving needed to dissolve. Trust that what's emerging is more authentic, more aligned, more true than anything you've forced or constructed or tried to become. Trust that the universe, life, consciousness, whatever you want to call it, knows what it's doing. You can't force this shift. You can't think your way into it. You can't positive affirmation yourself across the threshold. You can't manifest it or visualize it or intention set your way there. All of those tools can prepare you, can create space, can open doors, but they can't complete the transformation. Only surrender can do that. Only letting go completely. Only trusting the process so fully that you release your grip on who you think you should be and allow yourself to become who you actually are. The transformation doesn't happen to you. It happens through you. You're not the passive recipient of change. You're the vessel through which consciousness is expressing a new pattern, a new frequency, a new possibility. And the moment you stop trying to control it is the moment it accelerates beyond anything you could have orchestrated. Because your small self, your ego, your conscious mind, it doesn't have the capacity to architect this kind of transformation. It's too big, too complex, too multidimensional. But your higher self, your soul, the intelligence that's been running your heartbeat and your breath and your cellular regeneration since before you were born, it knows exactly what to do. It knows how to rewire the neural pathways. It knows how to shift the frequency. It knows how to dissolve the false self and birth the authentic self. You just have to get out of the way. You just have to stop interfering with the process. You just have to trust. When you fully embody the new self, when the transformation is complete and you're broadcasting consistently on 107.3, here's what becomes available. Heightened intuition. You know things before you know them. Not psychic abilities necessarily, though some people do experience that, but clear, unfiltered connection to your own wisdom. You make decisions quickly and confidently because you're no longer second-guessing yourself through the filter of the false identity. You trust your knowing because it comes from a deeper place than thought. Effortless creativity flows. Ideas appear fully formed. solutions emerge without struggle. You're not creating from strain or effort or force. You're channeling from source. You become a conduit for something larger than your individual consciousness. Art, music, writing, business ideas, innovations, whatever your particular expression is, it flows through you rather than from you. And the difference is palpable. What you create has a different quality, a different resonance. People can feel it even if they can't articulate why. Quantum trust develops. The fear dissolves, not because life becomes easier or safer or more predictable. Life is still life. Challenges still come. Problems still arise. But your relationship with those challenges fundamentally changes. You stop fighting reality and start dancing with it. You stop resisting what is and start flowing with what's emerging. You trust life's intelligence not because you've been given guarantees, but because you've experienced directly that there's a deeper order, a deeper intelligence, a deeper purpose operating beneath the surface chaos. You become less reactive and more responsive, less anxious and more aware, less desperate and more magnetic. People notice. They can't explain it, but they feel something different about you. Some will be drawn to it. They'll want to be around you because your frequency is calming, centering, inspiring. Others will be repelled by it. Your new frequency will trigger their unresolved patterns, their false identities, their resistance to change. And that's okay. You're not here to be everything to everyone anymore. Your relationships transform. Some deepen dramatically as you show up more authentically and create space for others to do the same. Some end, not necessarily with drama, but with a quiet recognition that you've grown in different directions, and that's okay. New relationships form, attracted by your new frequency, aligned with your authentic self rather than your false identity. And here's the paradox. You stop trying to be special, and you become extraordinary. Not extraordinary in the ego sense of being better than others, or more accomplished, or more recognized. Extraordinary in the sense of being fully yourself, expressing your unique frequency without apology or diminishment or performance. You stop seeking purpose, and purpose finds you. You stop chasing abundance, and abundance flows. Not because the universe rewards you, but because you finally aligned with what was always yours. Your work changes. If you stay in the same career, you do it differently. With more ease, more flow, more impact. If you change careers, it happens organically, not from desperation or escape, but from authentic calling. Money often improves, not because you focus on it more, but because you're no longer blocking it with the scarcity patterns of the false identity. Health often improves as the stress of maintaining the false self releases, and your body finally relaxes into its natural state. But none of these are the goal. They're the byproducts. The real transformation is internal. It's the shift from fear to trust, from effort to flow, from seeking to being, from becoming to already are. It's the recognition that you were never broken, never lacking, never insufficient. You were just broadcasting on the wrong frequency. And now you've changed the dial. So, here we are. You didn't skip this. You stayed. You read all the way to this point. That means something. That means the part of you that's ready to transform is stronger than the part that wants to stay comfortable. That means you're already in the shift, whether you recognize it fully or not. The fact that these words resonated, that this message found you, that you gave it your time and attention, that's not random. That's confirmation. If you want to go deeper into this quantum shift, if you want practical techniques, real guidance, and a community of people going through the same transformation, subscribe, because this is just the beginning. This is the introduction to a much larger conversation. In the next video, I'm going to walk you through the exact process of facilitating your own quantum leap. the meditation techniques that create the space for surrender, the awareness practices that help you distinguish between the voice of the false self and the wisdom of the authentic self, the surrender protocols that allow the transformation to happen through you rather than forcing it to happen to you. But before you go, I want to leave you with this question. What if the shift isn't something that's going to happen to you, but something that's already happening through you? What if you're not preparing for transformation? What if you're not getting ready for the big moment? What if you're already in it? What if the divine dissatisfaction you've been feeling, the synchronicities you've been noticing, the restlessness that won't let you settle, what if all of that is evidence that you're already mid-transformation? What if the hesitation you felt at the beginning of this video, that quiet tug that made you stop and pay attention, what if that was the new you reaching back through time to make sure the old you received the message that would catalyze the complete shift? What if your future self is already real, already exists in the quantum field, and is pulling you toward that timeline, that frequency, that version of you that's fully authentic, fully expressed, fully alive? Feel that truth. Let it sink in, not as a mental concept, but as a cellular knowing. You are not the same person who started reading this. Something has shifted. Something has activated. The interruption has already happened. Now, the only question is, what will you do with it? Will you scroll away and try to return to the old frequency? Or will you honor this moment, this divine interruption, and allow the transformation to continue? The choice is yours. But know this, your soul has already chosen. Your higher self has already decided. The quantum field has already collapsed into a new possibility. Your conscious mind just needs to catch up, and it will. Trust that. Trust this. Trust yourself. The real you is already here. You just need to stop pretending to be someone else. I'll see you in the next one.